freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 485 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today, the 30,000-foot view, and our guest is Colonel Rob Maness. Rob is a retired Air Force colonel, a former wing and squadron commander, a veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, a survivor of the 9/11 Pentagon Attack, a graduate of the U.S. Navy War College and Harvard Kennedy School, a former U.S. Senate candidate, the chairman of GatorPAC, CEO and owner of Iron Liberty Group, LLC, and the host of the Rob Maness Show on WorldViewTube. Wow.
Did you do that all in one breath? Welcome to the show, Colonel Rob Maness.
Thank you, Cheryl. Nice job, Dan. That's usually takes people a little longer.
That's quite a bit.
You are such an accomplished person. As you were saying off air, your mom loves your bio. And why wouldn't she?
Yeah. You're preaching.
Proud mama, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So in addition to the other amazing things on your resume, you also serve, as do I. We get to serve together on the board of the Second Amendment Institute, SAI. And we have a big annual event coming up. I wanted to get the shout out about that right out of the gate. Tell folks a little bit about what is this ceremony, why is it important, and why should people want to come and celebrate with us?
Well, thanks for asking that. I appreciate it. Yeah, and it's an honor, one of the honors that I've had for a few years now, to serve on the board of directors of the Second Amendment Institute, which was founded by a young American guy that just fights for liberty. The liberty that he's focused on is the right to keep and bear arms, as I'm sure your audience knows. But that's why it's important to me. Having sworn an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and almost died for it a couple of times, it's really important that the Second Amendment, which is really the insurance policy to guarantee the first 5 rights listed in the First Amendment, and all those rights that are not listed in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, that are natural law under God and given to us by nature's God. That no government has the ability to control. It's the Second Amendment. That's how important it is. It's no surprise they listed it as second, because the other rights are important to be able to establish a country like what we have in, the right to free speech, the right to assembly peacefully, the right to, address grievances with your government, and those kinds of things, the right to religious freedom, right to a free press. God, I wish we had a free press these days. Only a few of us are free still, like your show and mine, and those kind of groups. But, that Second Amendment, without it, none of those would ever have been able to exist at all. And that was before that amendment was written down on a piece of paper. Just last month, on April 19th, was the 250th anniversary of the shot heard around the world at Lexington and Concord. Cheryl, and as you know, and Dan knows, Americans didn't fire on British soldiers because they were our countrymen until we were fired upon, and violence was used by a military force against us, and then the rest is history. So that's why it's important. Number 2, the award. It's called the Second Amendment Champions Award. A few years ago, Tyler came up with the idea and got approval from the board of directors. I think it was in 2021, so about 4 years ago. to recognize an American or more than one American. I think in some years we've given out more than one award that has dedicated their activities to either starting a group supporting and defending the Second Amendment, or through their actions in their positions, or even as just as citizens that has supported the Second Amendment. So we have that. And I think it's on June 19th this year up in Washington, D.C., is where you can find out, where the awardee is going to be. I'm not at liberty to say who even the nominees are, but, some of the former nominees are. And by the way, Alan West, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West from Texas, former congressman, will be there. I'll be there, and some other notables that will be there. And hopefully we can get even more folks to come in. But some of our awardees have been Tulsi Gabbard, Congressman, now the Director of National Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard is one. Congressman Chip Roy, who, as I speak to you, is fighting to improve the big beautiful bill, the budget bill that's going through, so that the appropriate cuts from Elon Musk's Doge effort are in that bill, so that we don't add more government, which is the whole idea behind the Constitution of the United States anyway. He is one of our awardees. So it's a big deal for us from the Second Amendment Institute, but it's a bigger deal for Americans to see that there are groups like the one Tyler created that are out here working every day to recognize people and to fight for us. He's has been involved in many court cases. Dick Heller of the Heller decision is going to be one of our guests this year, and has been an awardee of the Second Amendment Champion Award too. So I'm thrilled to get the opportunity to participate. Last year I wasn't able to make it to the ceremony. I will be there.
I absolutely love that. And also, I'm the Arizona State Director to Women for Gun Rights, and our founder, Diana Muller, has been one of our previous awardees and will be present this year as well. So, I mean, really, it is a wonderful who's who of people who are really, we have the bruises to show for it, right? We've got some dirt under our nails for doing the actual grassroots work of protecting these enumerated rights, including the Second Amendment, particularly the Second Amendment. And you can get your tickets at sainational.org/champion. Please go there. Please join us. It's going to be a wonderful evening. June 19th, 2025, as the Colonel mentioned, at 6:30 p.m. I am flying in that day, so I will be fresh off a plane.
How do you be fresh off?
I know that's a mixture of words there, isn't it? But amazing, and I am so honored to get to serve on that board with you, Colonel.
Likewise as well. I don't know when I'm flying in yet. I don't have tickets yet because I've got another activity we're trying to work out scheduling for on the backside.
Right.
So, but yeah, I won't surprise me if I fly in the same day too.
Yeah, I mean, busy people, we are always triple stacked on any given day, right? So
Absolutely.
I love it. Kind of switching gears maybe a little bit. You have served in the Air Force, right? As such, you have a unique perspective on the president as commander in chief. Some of us citizens, we don't think about him in that way. But if you're in the military, that certainly is an important way of viewing who he is and what he does to impact your the work you do. So how do you see President Biden? We're sitting in the studio on May 20th, 2025. We have just learned of a cancer diagnosis. We've been watching years about mental health decline. How do you view these health issues as someone who saw him as your commander in chief for the last 4 years?
One of the things that really bothers those of us, especially those of us that were career military, that became senior officers or senior enlisted, and in my case, I commanded 3 times, which is an awesome responsibility and an honor and a privilege to get to command young Americans, especially if you have to go to war. And I was honored privileged to get to do all those But I also, one of my jobs in the Air Force was in the Pentagon in what's called the Joint Staff's Nuclear Operations Division. And the main thing we did was make sure that the nuclear war planning was done correctly, but we also maintained what's called the Nuclear Decision Handbook. You know it as either the Black Book or the Nuclear Football. And the nuclear football has been carried with the president since John F. Kennedy by a military aide who is a top performing aide, which means they have the highest level of leadership ability, integrity, honesty, physical stamina, all of those things, right? That's what's the characteristics of the military aide to the president. They're usually a major or a lieutenant commander in the Navy's case, and they actually sleep in the White House when they're with assigned on shift, and they travel with the president no more than an arm's length away most of the time. Excuse me. Well, Joe Biden apparently has been totally mentally incapacitated since he took office, from what we're learning today. And here's the question that you should be asking yourself if you're just a regular American that's never served in the military. I just described those military aides to you, and there's a process that they're trained on how to identify when the president is incapacitated and to report that situation so that the nuclear football can be passed to the vice president. So we always have somebody that's capable of making the decision to defend the country from nuclear war, always, every second, every minute, every hour of every day. Okay, to eternity. And where were those reports? Where were those officers during the last 4 years? Several officers have rotated through those positions in those 4 years. My question is, where are the reports? Were they made? What leadership, what generals and admirals received those reports? What decisions did they make? What did they do? Or more importantly, as we can see, what did they not do? And then how do we hold them accountable? Because there are ways to hold military personnel accountable through the Uniform Code of Military Justice and through the administrative personnel system that should be considered if these folks were derelict in their duty. And this is a clear indicator that somebody was derelict in their duty in the chain of command, because that should have been identified. And you can take it on up to the level outside of the military. This situation should have been identified to the Secretary of Defense, who's a cabinet member, and I believe it's the 25th Amendment that empowers a cabinet member to get the other cabinet members together and discuss a situation like this and then take the appropriate action. So who above the military officers were derelict in their duty? Those are all questions that have to be answered, because our country is in grave danger today, even though, thank God, we got President Trump reelected. Okay. This is what he's doing is what I voted for. Okay. I'm never going to agree, just like you, with every little thing another human being does or says, but this is what I voted for. This is why I worked in his Veterans Coalition on his campaign as a surrogate and recruiting other veterans to help him, is because we need to bring integrity and lawfulness back to the United States Armed Forces. And we've got to remove this hidden Marxist indoctrination through wokeism and diversity, equity, inclusion programs. And all of those steps are being taken, in my mind, not fast enough, because we have limited time. We don't know who's coming next. And, so we have to get all of as much stuff as we can done. And every executive order that he signs has got to be considered to be put in legislation to make it permanent. Because as you know, Joe Biden overturned every EO that President Trump signed in 2021. And President Trump had a really full first day retracting and reissuing executive orders. And it's gone on from there. This is the most prolific presidency we've seen in 100 days ever. And props go to the folks that have been working on those in various groups like ours, Groups, other groups that I'm on the board of advisors for have drafted EOs for this team and they're being implemented in large part. I think some cases 100% on the DoD side. So props to those folks for helping out and getting this president right on track. But we've got to have some accountability, not to punish people personally, but to make sure that the appropriate actions are always taken by the people that are in these positions. The military aid position is the most trusted position you can have that's not a general or officer or an admiral in uniform in the United States of America. So we have to have an understanding of what did happen, what didn't happen, who did what, and where the accountability has to lie, and then hold it accountable.
Absolutely.
Rob, you gave me a little bit of an upset stomach when I heard you say that the person holding that football would pass that to the vice president. And that threw me off there. But then I think, so the person holding the football, who's he accountable to?
Let me address that first. For those folks that have not been in uniform, we swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and the Constitution says that the vice president is the person that is gone to when the president's incapacitated or dies. That's the bottom line there. So we really don't have any choice. Even though I get an upset stomach when I talk about all this at all. I have a copy of the cover of the Black Book on my wall here. It's very important to me that job be done absolutely perfectly every single time. Not just as a military officer, but as an American. That's how important that job is. So, yeah, I get it. But the rules and the orders and the oath to the Constitution are what they are. And one of the problems that we had is that we had general officers and admirals and senior leaders in the military in the Biden administration acting to protect their institution instead of protecting the Constitution, what they swore an oath to defend. And that's an issue. So who will hold them accountable? Ultimately, it's the president of the United States. He's the commander in chief. But they're, without going into too much details, they are in constant contact with the general that's over the operations team at the National Military Command Center. And when there's an issue, they have an appropriate reporting chain to report that up through the chain of command.
So it seems like, maybe if I'm the guy or lady who is holding the football, right? And I think I see something that I'm uncomfortable with the president, isn't it really the doctors in charge? Shouldn't I take my cue from them? And we keep seeing clean bills of health, as far as I know. So
no, because the mill aid is inside that loop. The mill aid is an arm's length from the president almost at all times. He or she is inside that loop that the doctor is in, and they're the ones that are going to see that someone is incapacitated, probably faster than a doctor is, quite honestly.
Understood.
Unless the doctor's there more often than I believe they are. So it's them. It's that individual that's going to know that outside of the person's family and those kind of things. So we're counting on them to make the right call. My guess is that they probably all made the right call, and the call got stopped, or bad decisions or the wrong decisions were made at some level, either at the uniform level or once it got to the Secretary of Defense's office, to not take the action that needed to be taken to protect the country, which was to remove him from being able to command nuclear forces.
But then we would have had Kamala Harris at the helm. So I don't know if that's a whole lot better. Yeah. But anyway, we can discuss that another time.
So the question I have, are they going to look into this and find out who dropped the ball?
I don't know. I'm not on the inside of this administration and the Department of Defense. But if I were there advising the Secretary of Defense, I would be advised. This is one of the things I would be advising him he needed to look into, and very quickly.
Yes, because it could happen again.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of leads me into one of my other questions, is that we are just now past the first 100 days of the second Trump administration. they have done a lot very
Mhm.
quickly, but I feel like some of us are getting impatient for those kinds of accountability pieces, right? When are we going to start seeing, or is it unreasonable that we would start seeing some of these kinds of accountability pieces out of some of the three-letter agencies, the FBI, for example, that sort of thing? I guess I thought with Cash Patel in there, we were going to start seeing a lot more truthiness coming out,
Truthiness.
truthiness, um, coming out more quickly and learning more about all the ways that we have been truly spoon-fed a bunch of fabrications and half lies. What are your thoughts about all that? Am I on the wrong track?
Well, accountability must happen to restore the credibility of our law enforcement and our judicial system.
Mhm.
And that's the, two pieces that you were just speaking about when you're talking about Director Patel, Deputy Director Bongino, Attorney General Pam Bondi. Uh, uh, the indicators are, first of all, over the last few days, we've seen a Congresswoman who's been charged for interfering with ICE law enforcement up in New
Okay.
Jersey, I believe.
Yeah.
The mayor of Newark was arrested by ICE for taking inappropriate actions and working against them in the same incident. So it's not that there is not the courage to do it.
Okay.
So that's a good sign. The the sign that I'm concerned about is, and look, I always preface what I'm about to say with this. The president was inaugurated on January 20th. He might have had 100 days, but Patel and Bongino, they were
Mhm.
long after that.
Mhm.
It's in weeks,
That's
if
fair.
not, a couple months, at the
That's fair.
outside, the level of work, the effectiveness, because you have to get in and be effective and all that stuff. But we can't use that as an excuse, though. Uh,
Hmm.
we know, we people on the outside know from working with those that were arrested, for instance, on January 6th and put through a certain process that there were bad actors
Hmm.
in the judicial and the law enforcement system. We know it.
Hmm.
We have direct evidence of it. If
Hmm.
we have direct evidence, then the FBI and the director and the deputy director have to have even more massive amounts of direct evidence.
Hmm.
So for us to be calling for people to be held accountable is not unreasonable at all. To answer your question directly, it's not, and we have to continue to do that. And I just mentioned the J6. That's just a very small piece of the issue from a strategic perspective. The Russia collusion hoax
Hmm.
from August 2015, when the FBI sent agents to do surveillance on the defensive intelligence briefing they were giving to the president and his national security advisor, then retired Lieutenant General Mike Flynn.
Hmm.
That's where they started it. The
Hmm.
lying to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, the secret court, which I don't think we should have, by the way. We shouldn't
Hmm.
have a secret court. But the FBI lying to the court judges there to get these surveillance warrants through the FISA system so that they could electronically and surveil and trail these people and spy on them physically. Those that the accountability has to be there in order to reset American people's confidence in the institutions of the American government, the most important ones, the
Hmm.
Department of Defense, our
Hmm.
intelligence agencies, our law enforcement capability, our judiciary system. I haven't even talked about the corrupt judges that are making obvious political decisions that have
Hmm.
to be held accountable by who? By Congress.
Hmm.
We're seeing every day now that Congress, even though we voted for a Republican Congress and won it, they're having great difficulty actually taking real action to get things accomplished. We're in this debate right now about passing the big beautiful bill, the budget bill that the president needs in order to enact a lot of his agenda, all of
Hmm.
his agenda, really.
Hmm.
The fight is correct, by the way. Congressmen like Chip Roy and Tom Massey are right to insist that the cuts from Doge and for fraud, waste, and abuse be included in
Yes.
there, and that we stop doing things like overfunding the state's Medicaid programs, because it takes from the poor people that actually, and the indigent people that actually need the Medicaid, when we allow that stuff to continue. So they're absolutely right to that. That fight has to occur, but we've got to get it done, and Congress has got to do more. Congress established the lower federal courts below the Supreme Court. They have the power to disband a court district if they want to impeach the judges. We have seen absolutely no serious action other than a bunch of talk in committee meetings, and we haven't even seen real talk in committee meetings about judges being held accountable. All we've seen is the Supreme Court Chief Justice Roberts wag his finger at us and say, oh, no, impeachment's not the right answer. Well, accountability is the answer, and
Yes.
Congress has the ability to hold the judiciary, federal judiciary below the Supreme Court accountable through its powers, because it established that Supreme Court. And they should be looking at these judges that are being overtly political in these decisions for impeachment, because the impeachment clause, you have to be, for a judge, you have to serve well, in good faith, et cetera, et cetera. And those people are not. And it's obvious they're not. So it's got to be done. And Congress has got to find the courage to step up and do the right thing.
Absolutely. And I feel like, what signal do the American people need to send to Congress, especially those that claim to be conservatives, to give them the spine that they should have? I mean, it feels like if this last election didn't do that, then I just don't know what the heck we need to do or say to help them understand what the will of we the people really is. But what keeps happening is, and you can tell me if I'm looking at it wrong, but they abdicate their power. They shove a bunch of it up to the president, that he was not supposed to have as much power as the seat of president has. They shove a bunch of it off to the judiciary, and they have to weigh things out in the court. And in the meantime, they're just trying to be like, I'm like Teflon, a congressman and congresswoman, right? Like nothing's going to stick to me so that I can wear whatever face I want to wear in the next election just to keep my seat of power. It's highly frustrating. And, with the president, with his executive orders, where I can applaud, I believe, it's hard for me because I am big C conservative, little L libertarian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrestle in my own mind that it's like, well, just because President Trump's EOs agree and align with things that I would want to have happen, do I really agree and align that he should be doing that? Or should it be put back down to Congress to weigh a lot of these things out? And my mind goes back to, and maybe they were doing it before President Obama came along, but the phrase that always hits my brain about executive orders is, I think I'm quoting Obama correctly when I say, you know what, if Congress can't get it done, that's all right. I got a pen, I got a phone. I'll just sign it into law. And it just feels like that set a precedent. Maybe there was precedent before that, but that's where my memory starts.
Is this what kings do?
It set a precedent that it's like, well, if their side does it, then our side can do it. And then ours, just back and forth until it just becomes this behemoth.
Well,
Sorry,
an executive order is only valid if it's providing the function of administratively executing the law of the land. That's the executive branch's responsibility to faithfully execute the laws. So that's number one. That is a place where the Supreme Court should be looking at an executive order. Under Obama, as soon as he said that, the Supreme Court should be taking under review on its own, okay, every executive order that he issued from then on out, okay, because it is an important part of the process. The basis for the reason I say, and those like me say, that Trump's executive orders have to be codified in legislation is because the executive orders, not just because the next Joe Biden could rescind them immediately, but because Congress has to have a deliberative process to where it debates whether the law, the executive order is executing is appropriately written or not. And that's the important piece that a lot of people forget. So, the president is the executive in charge of the executive branch, but he's only the commander in chief of the U.S. Armed Forces. He's not the commander in chief of the Congress and the commander in chief of the judicial branch. So that's why it's extremely important, is the concerns you just raised. I'm a liberty-minded Republican. Look, Rand Paul's endorsed me before. Mike Lee has supported me before. Tom Massey has supported me. I get it. You're exactly right. That's why I keep harping on this, that the Congress has got to do its job. And it's critically important that the House of Representatives does its job in the budget area, because Congress gave the House that for a reason. Why did they give that? Because it's and when you read the Federalist Papers, it's because that House is the one that's closest to the people. And I'm going to get to another final answer to your question. It gives only 2-year terms to the Congress people in the House of Representatives, because it's the body closest to the people, which should have the most power, and the most power is in the money. That's what the founders were brilliant about. And the way the Constitution is crafted, that's what it's brilliant about. So the Congress not doing its job is not just me whining about it. It's me articulating and speaking about the concern you just raised. We don't have kings in this country. George Washington's most important action was giving his commission back to the Continental Congress after he had won the Revolutionary War. That signified we will not have a king in this country. So the system's got to be functioning correctly. It's not functioning correctly because we are not holding people accountable. And how do you hold people accountable in Congress? You primary them if they're I'm a Republican. So you primary them and you beat them. The problem is us. We have a habit of 90% plus reelecting our incumbents, even incumbents like Mitch McConnell, who are anti-libertarian, even incumbents in the House that like Paul Ryan and those kind of people get reelected at over a 90% rate. We've got to start voting in our primaries. Look, I live in Gulfport, Mississippi, on the Gulf Coast here. The last congressional election, our congressman had a primary opponent because he was elected a term earlier on doing MAGA type stuff when the last guy wasn't. And he's not. He's doing establishment type stuff. So we primaried him, but we only had a 9% turnout for our primary. The guy got slaughtered.
It's crazy.
Because the 9% that turn out are the people that vote for the incumbents.
Yeah.
Look, so the responsibility really is on us, the American people. And what can we do? Send the signal. It's 2026 is coming up. That's why it's every 2 years in the House. Send the signal that we're not going to vote for those incumbents anymore. That's what we can do.
No, I do think that's a great signal because, I feel like we made a statement in this last election. And so this is going to be the exclamation point, maybe, on that statement if we can primary and move these people along. Make them available to industry is one of the phrases that I've heard recently. It's like, a fly and be free. Go do something else, right?
Exactly.
With love, but go. So we do need to start wrapping up. We got about maybe 10 more minutes. But President Trump just made a trip to the Middle East, and there's a lot of splashy headlines, most of them just criticizing inconsequential things. It feels like
breathing again.
I know, right? He wore the wrong tie. Who knows what the media, in air quotes, think is important for us to know. But you follow these things very closely, and from a huge multi-layered background in what really is important about these kinds of visits and conversations. So what were some of your key takeaways from this trip?
Of the three legs of the strategic situation and what President Trump was voted to do with our national security, The most important was reestablish peace through strength by deterring China.
Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
And in the Middle East, China has made great inroads through its Belt and Road Initiative to places like Iran, Afghanistan now, because we left so summarily and in such a disaster. Pakistan, one of the two nuclear armed states that have been fighting each other up until President Trump was able to negotiate a ceasefire, and they were escalating every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, China, I believe China was involved in that original terrorist attack from Pakistan on India that triggered that. Okay. Where China has not been as successful, though, is in the part of the Middle East where Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, that part of the Middle East, China has not been as successful at making inroads into their national security apparatus, into their government apparatus, and the individuals that run those. And they are trying to do that. So when you look at moves like, very much like the first administration, first place Trump went overseas, and the first one was to Saudi Arabia to reestablish those relationships. He's got a couple of goals in mind, but the main one is isolating China out of being able to become as effective there as they are on the other side of the Persian Gulf. Okay, and same thing with Syria. As much as somebody that was in the Pentagon on 9/11 and trained and took our Americans to war against Al Qaeda and ISIS and Al Nusra. The guy that's running Syria now is an Al Nusra founder and an ISIS individual. But Mr. Trump went and talked to him while he was in Saudi Arabia and said positive things about him and said, we're going to drop the sanctions off of Syria and give them a chance. Okay. So that move, even though I don't like it, I actually agree with it because it isolates China and Iran. Iran has taken major losses in the Middle East thanks to Israel, and their proxy forces are devastated now in Gaza Strip, in Jordan, in Judea and Samaria, what used to be called the West Bank, in Lebanon, and in Syria. The Iranian proxy forces have been completely devastated there. This is an opportunity for the United States to isolate Iran, which isolates China out of the area if we give them an opportunity to do that. Now, trust but verify, because those people want me dead. They've tried to kill me twice, at least that I know of.
Yeah.
Okay. So trust but verify, but from a strategic, realist national security perspective, it's the right thing to do. And it all goes back to reestablish peace through strength and deter China. Same kind of thing with getting Russia and Ukraine to stop fighting each other. You're hearing that he's offering Russia. J.D. Vance announced it just yesterday, I think it was, in a short interview on Air Force Two, that the president's offering Russia to come back into the fold of the Western economic community, and some major moves there, and that is solely to distance it from China, because Biden's decision to do what he's done in Ukraine, in the Russia-Ukraine war, pushed Russia into the arms of communist China. So we've got to come up with a way to increase the distance between the two and reestablish peace on the European continent. That's the way the president's going to do it. He's very pragmatic. He's a realist national security individual from a principled perspective instead of an idealist. Idealism is what got us to stay in Afghanistan after 2005, when we won the initial response war that I fought in and commanded Americans in, responding to 9/11. We won that. We should have turned it back over to the people that are from that country and let them build what they need to build and rebuild it. We didn't. From an idealism perspective, we stayed to try to recreate a democracy in our own image, and through hard lessons learned and tens of thousands of American lives and hundreds of thousands of lives of people from those countries like Iraq and Afghanistan, we now see that was a disaster, and it will always be a disaster when we do that. So that's the difference between realism and idealism. Donald Trump is on the realist side. and he's making the right decisions on behalf of the American people to put America first.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if this is a quick question or a long question, but some of the headlines about, some tension between Israel and President Trump. What do you make of that? Is that more kind of the art of the deal situation, or is there something there that we really need to be tuning into?
I don't think there's any real significant tension between Netanyahu and President Trump. That's the headlines that I've been seeing a lot of.
Yes.
Look, the big deal for Israel is to not have a United States that tries to bind their hands behind their back when they're trying to defend their very existence, which is what's going on in Gaza. That's what they're doing.
Interesting.
You got to once you get past we got to answer the questions as to why nobody knew this was going to happen, and that has not been investigated fully yet, nor answered yet, and must be. But once you get past that, they're fighting a defensive war for their existence, and Joe Biden's administration tried to handcuff them. Obviously, Donald Trump's not going to do that. He's going to call them on the phone and say, "Hey, we need to do this. Here's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? Does this help you, hurt you?" I mean, that's the kind of conversation that I think that they're going to have. And he knows that if Israel sees fit that they have to go attack the Iranian nuclear facilities so that they can continue to exist, that they're going to do it no matter what the United States says. So the best thing the United States can do is continue to act on behalf of America first, and also take care of our allies as much as we can. And by that is, the Israelis, we buy defense, national security equipment, military equipment from them. The Golden Dome that we're going to build is going to be partly based on Israeli gear and designs, I'm sure. And likewise, they've done the same thing. And that's what they're going to be concerned about, is they still have access to be able to purchase military equipment because you run out of this stuff. It's expendable when you're fighting a war like that. Hopefully we can get that war ended as soon as possible. But Hamas could end it tomorrow, right now, actually. Just walk out, put your hands up, put your arms down, and say, we unconditionally surrender. We won't do this anymore. But they won't do it, which tells you the Israelis have to continue to fight their defensive. Yeah. And the United States should stay out of it, to be honest with you.
I appreciate that. I go back to our first president, who wanted to not be an interventionist. He wanted to, make America first, make us great, make us as strong as possible, and not go and involve ourselves in every skirmish across the globe. And I think we've strayed so far from that. And it's hard when you see your neighbors hurting. It's hard, but that doesn't always mean that, we need to go in there and start, being the policeman, I suppose, of the world.
And nobody should take these moves as weakness either, because as everybody knows, Donald Trump's the one that made the decisions to kill the Israeli Republican Guard Corps commander that had been responsible for things like missile strikes and thousands of American dead in Iran and those kind of things. He didn't hesitate to go against the Houthis when they kept attacking shipping in international sea lanes. We've been doing that since before Thomas Jefferson, by the way. On America First policy.
Amen.
So I'm a little off topic here, but I see all the lies that are going on in the government things, and I'm not in the military. I've never been in the military, and I don't really know I'm not streetwise, but if I was walking down the beach and I saw some seashells that said 8647, what would you think that meant? I just wanted to find out if they're lying to me or not.
Well, when I was a very young man in a field called explosive ordnance disposal, EOD, that's bomb disposal, in the military, we used to get detached to the Secret Service every time a campaign season would come around, because the Secret Service didn't have enough people and didn't have their own bomb techs and everything. I'm very well aware of the laws against threatening a president of the United States. And the fact that somebody that has been a director of the FBI tweeted that out or Instagrammed it out as a dog whistle is what the left would say. I would say he green-lighted every nut job, every potential assassin. And if there are some nefarious actors organized out there in governments or even our own government, green-lighted them, and he should be arrested.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I agree with you.
But he didn't understand what 86 meant.
He should be put under oath to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he lies, be arrested for perjury and
Yeah.
tried for it.
He is something else, that guy.
Rob, we don't do anything to people that do this stuff. We go to Congress, we have our special inquiries and stuff, and nothing ever happens.
Well, that's not true. We do it to our people that are raising these issues. I've had it done to them thousands of times since January 6, 2021.
Okay, you're right.
So we are using our system. It's just that we're using our system to beat down and oppress American citizens instead of using it to do what it's supposed to do, uphold the law and ensure especially government officials are acting according to the law and are honest, ethical, and not corrupt and not political or partisan political in their activities, and we're not doing it. Right.
Absolutely. And of course, James Comey, former FBI director, is who we are talking about, because somewhere down the line when this show gets played 5 years from now, people are going to be like, what the heck are they talking about?
Oh, that guy that's in jail? Comey?
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you so much for all of your time and all of your service. Colonel Rob Maness, tell folks how they can continue to follow all the great work you do.
Well, you can catch my show Monday through Thursday live, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern on X is a good place to catch it. You can follow me there at Rob Maness. You can find it on Rumble, the Rob Maness Show on Rumble, on Facebook at COL Rob Maness. It's ROBMANESS is where the fan page is, and the show broadcasts to all those locations. And you can find me on Getter. Most social medias, it's at Rob Maness for all that kind of activity, and the show goes out to about 6 of those on a live basis. And then we post it at the website, robmaness.com. We post it on the Rumble channel too, so you can find posted versions, post-edited versions of the show there too.
Fantastic. Well, you are a busy, busy dude. Thank you for all you do. And if I don't see you before, I will definitely see you on June 19th in DC for the SAI Championship ceremony.
Absolutely, Cheryl. Thank you, Dan and Cheryl, for having me on. I appreciate it. God bless you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Busy man.
He really is. He is just, he's so smart, right? I just love anytime I get a chance to visit with him because he knows things on a layer and a level that is so far beyond, the average person's understanding of things. And I just, I'm so honored and blessed to get to serve with him on the board of the SAI, Second Amendment Institute. Thank you also, not to just Colonel Rob Maness, but to all of our amazing viewers and listeners all over the planet, wherever there is internet service. You guys are, you ladies and gentlemen out there, are gobbling up this information from these subject matter experts. And when you spend your most finite resource, which is your time, with us, it's everything. So thank you so much. If you want to go back and rewatch this or share it, would be wonderful. Or any of our videos that we've ever put up, you can go to Gunstreamer, YouTube, Opslin smartphone app, Spotify, any of those places. And when you get there, click the subscribe and the notification button so you get the latest and greatest, the quickest, and it also tells those platforms that you value this information. And it gives us a little hedge against the cancel culture that is still out there. If you want to listen to the audio only version, go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the On Demand tab, and
Binge listens to your heart content, darling.
Darling. If you want to see the photos, bios, and links to all of the guests, all of the subject matter experts that we've ever had on, click the guest tab. It is an ever-growing database, and when you spend time there, we don't hate that. All right. We want to thank the organizations that support us. Have you yet switched your phone service? Right? We're all walking around with these gadgets, right? I'm taking my selfies everywhere. Well, what is powering my selfies? For many, many years, it has been some of these big corporations that I've been giving my money to that work against all of the stuff that I advocate for. Why was I doing that? Well, now we are with patriotmobile.com/GFR because they support everything that's important and valuable to our family and to yours. So please go there as soon as possible, patriotmobile.com. Use the promo code GFR for 1 free month of service. If you still have a contract, they will help you buy that out. If you're worried about, will I still have the same level of cell tower service? Yes, you will, because they're the exact same cell towers that are powering your selfies and your phone calls and your texts to the people that you know and love. So go to patriotmobile.com/GFR. All right.
Remember the same phone number.
Same phone number. I always forget to say that. You don't have to change your phone number unless you want to. Every once in a while, I get tempted. Like if I change my phone number, maybe I won't get all these spam calls.
You'll still get
because
them.
I'll be hiding from those
You'll
people.
still get them.
You think so? Well,
Yeah.
all right.
Spam.
All right.
spam.
And also, I want to talk to you about patriothousehold.com/GFR. That is an invitation-only shopping network, and Dan and I are inviting you today. I'm talking to you. We're inviting you to join us at patriothousehold.com. That is a place that instead of taking all of your money to those big box stores that do not support what you support, will actually use your money against what you value, go to patriothousehold.com/GFR. Not only are you supporting American jobs on American soil, making American-made products to clean your house, clean your hair, clean your dishes. They even have a line of beef products, right? Riverbend Ranch. Best hamburger you're ever going to taste. Best steaks you're ever going to taste. You set your order online. It is delivered directly to your front door. It is amazing. And we get a tiny piece of every dollar you spend to help fuel the work that we do. patriothousehold.com/GFR. All right. Do you ever go out shooting when it's hot outside?
Sometimes.
Well, what happens when you get sweaty, your hands get kind of sweaty, and you start losing your grip on your gun? Dan?
I go home.
You go home? Oh my goodness. Well, we are working with some awesome friends who have made a great product. LockedInGrip.com, the liquid shooting sports chalk for better, safer, faster shooting. And finally, those of us.
Actually, I use it not just when it's hot outside.
Yeah?
You use them all the time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But
Okay.
when it's really, really hot outside,
Yeah.
I go home.
Well, in Arizona, we know something about it being hot outside.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, those of us who prepare and train to protect our own lives, whether it's with firearm or whatever tool of self-defense we have, if you are in a situation that you have to protect your life, you will need an attorney on retainer. So go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, and if you scroll down on the home page, you will find attorneys on retainer. Click through there, tell them that Dan and Cheryl sent you. We will get a small piece of your membership, and you will have unbelievable peace of mind that if you ever are in an encounter, that you will have an attorney on retainer. All right, until next time, what are we going to do, Dan?
Pray for our nation.
What else?
Pray for our nation twice.
Pray for our elected officials and
okay.
leaders.
Okay.
What about the ones that, as Colonel Maness suggested, maybe need to be primaried out?
Oh, vote them out. Yeah.
And maybe pray for them?
Yeah.
Maybe especially pray for them?
Yeah. Okay.
You always sound like, well, if I have to, right? Maybe especially for them. All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week and God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.